Hello, everybody. Welcome to another installment of Show to V with Mike G, the show of life, the show of beer, the show of teaching, Korea, New York. I'd like to say this is a continuation of Beer Week at Show to V. A lot of great new businesses, a lot of great new breweries popping up, but the St. Elmo district in South Austin is going to really be thriving and flourishing. You've got still Austin Whiskey Company out there, and now St. Elmo Brewing Company. Tim Bullock and Bryan Winslow are a very wonderful comedic duo. They were both teachers, and it feels like their time spent together at Austin Beerworks was not only serendipitous, but that's where the romance and the kindred nature of their friendship began. So without further ado, I hope you guys enjoy this great chat with Tim Bullock and Bryan Winslow of St. Elmo Brewing Company.
History is what I actually was studying.
Okay. What kind of, any particular type of history?
No, my original intent was I was going to be a teacher.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, but I started taking Spanish kind of as just those regular fill-in liberal arts classes, and I was really good at it. So after I graduated with a history degree, I went back to school for Spanish, studied in Spain. I was actually, yeah.
So Spain, not Mexico.
Not Mexico.
Better food. Well, they both got good food.
They both have great food. Totally. Yeah, and so I was...
Is there anybody that doesn't have good food? Is the English?
The English?
So you say that, you go Korea, great food. Thailand, great food.
You're totally right, man. The Brits,
right? I mean, the Brits,
not very good.
That kind of sucks, but okay, what about who else? Who else has shitty food?
That doesn't have good food? I'm not really into Eastern European food, like Russian food. I'm not really into that.
Yeah, stay away from lots
Borscht is okay.
Just boiled cabbage, isn't that acceptable?
Yeah, it's a little flat because it's starvation food, right? You just got to try to not die.
True.
But the Italians, it's like it's flourishing with wonderful grapes and cheese.
Yeah, they really nailed it.
We're making enemies as we speak, right?
No, that's not true. We already have enemies. They've already been well established throughout history. So how long did you spend studying in Spain?
I went for a summer, but then I came back. I was studying at Rutgers University, and
cool.
I was kind of on track to... I eventually wanted to do translation and interpretation work, and I did put that to work. Before I got into beer, I was doing public interest law. I was a paralegal essentially, and I did a lot of translation work, and I translated legal documents into Spanish.
So you got pretty close to really entering academia as a teacher then. Did you end up actually teaching?
No, I didn't. No, I literally, honestly, what ended up happening is Rutgers is in New Brunswick, New Jersey, and I got a full-time job in New York City, and then I met who was to become my wife, and that
changes everything.
Yeah, that was the end of it. So,
but that's a good thing. I think love kind of frames our stories in a good way. You know, women take us in good places. Well, all right. Well, now in our 30s at least, women take us into good places.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
But so it's an interesting thing. You've got this rich kind of cultural background, this culmination of translating Spanish history. So how do you develop an interest in beer?
I mean, I had been interested in it for a little while. I went to college in Ithaca, New York. There's a really good brewery up there called Ithaca Brewing Company. They they ended up, this was before or after I left, but they make really, really good, some really good wild ales up there as well. And so I was always into brewing and working.
So you were doing it at home in the closet like dudes do?
Yeah, so I was working in, public interest law in New York City, and you got to blow off the steam somehow. Yeah. And two of my very best friends and I purchased the Joy of Homebrewing, the Charlie Papazian book, and got a kit from a small homebrew website and just started doing it in the stovetop in New York City.
That's crazy. Yeah, the first ferments, they happen either in a shed or in like a garage. But I don't think there are lots of garages in New York, right? So you got to do it in a
could be.
bedroom. There could be.
They're not where I was.
Yeah, not in the densely populated areas of it. So this parlayed into what sounds like a pretty illustrious career in beer. You worked for Brooklyn Brewing, is that right?
That's right,
Which is kind of one of the more notable ones that had a really big impact into Austin.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, Brooklyn, if you're doing beer in New York, you're not doing it without just the presence of Brooklyn Brewery, right? They were by far the biggest one. At that time, there were only essentially 3 breweries in New York City when I started homebrewing. And Brooklyn always held events. It was easy to go visit. It was a cool space. Yeah. And I was putting my time in at a nonprofit, and New York is kind of sink or swim, and nonprofits don't.
They're like stones in a pond, typically.
yeah, sure. Right. So it wasn't really getting me very far the direction that I wanted to go.
Right.
Applied to Brooklyn, managed to get a job. And actually, it was thanks in part to my Spanish language. And
how did that help you?
Well, because I had kind of my history was in interpreting documents and, filling out official paperwork.
Right.
Legal and everything like that. And the job that I ended up getting was as the export coordinator. Brooklyn had, from an early point, kind of really developed an export market.
Yeah, right.
And so at the time that I was hired, I believe Sweden, the country of Sweden, was the second largest localized market for Brooklyn.
That's
so
crazy.
number 1 was New York, New Jersey, Southern Connecticut.
So that kind of stuff, does that interest you? Because what I'm really doing is building kind of a narrative. Because I think when Bryan and I start talking about how we've had DJ careers, that's going to bring in this more creative side of it, perhaps even the branding side of it, as you roll your eyes.
Sure.
Right? But then I think of logistical and I think of operational.
All our beers are based on dance music.
See, but that makes sense. Except Sandy Koufax.
Shade
that's right.
Sorry.
Baseball.
He was a dancer.
Yeah, he sounds like he could.
Everybody knows him for his dancing.
Totally.
In his southpawness, right?
That's right.
Yes.
Real crazy throw, if I recall. Like sidearm, is that right? Is Sandy Koufax the sidearm guy?
Lefty, yeah.
Yeah, mess your shoulder and your elbow up with that stuff. But so you got this bit, and you eventually, I feel you get the entrepreneurial
bug.
I guess, like it's not good enough. You feel like maybe you've got enough insight that you
what
can do it.
I had, like, right from the beginning, what I was astounded by was how much, like, so I was a home brewer, and I was studying, like, doing like a BJCP prep course weekly, which is the beer judge certification program.
Okay. Thought it was Brazilian jiu-jitsu for a second. It's like, you don't look like the type, but it's all right.
That's Teddy.
That's soursop.
I see. Okay.
But
he'll whoop your ass.
I was like really into beer history, beer styles, tasting beer, making beer. I was really into that. I got a job at Brooklyn. It definitely focused more, like what you said, on logistics and like the business side. And I was like astounded at how interested I was in it and how much I didn't know.
Gotcha.
Right, and this is kind of like, this will be a takeaway for any home brewers or budding entrepreneurs out there. Is you will be surprised by how much you don't know.
That's the kind of that's my favorite part of it, actually.
Yeah.
You go in and you kind of like, well, I've got a degree, I've traveled abroad, I've got a wife and whatnot, but still nobody knows shit.
Right.
And
I know the
breweries. You get to be around, you know what I mean? Like, just experience all that.
I know the beers that they make, I know this and that, and it won't, you will never stop learning, you know.
But that's got to appeal to you.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
Completely a huge appeal, you know. I mean, like, in Bryan and I mean, there's still so much that we don't know. Yeah. And we're like every single day we're learning something new. So
it's an amazing thing. Because I think that at some point you guys converge, is this fair, at Austin Beerworks? Is that kind of where the story kind of combines? Mm-hmm. Okay. So this is a good time. So I think you're a Texas native, right? If I'm reading correctly, Clear Lake, Seabrook area.
Yeah, I was raised Seabrook, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So how is it being raised? I know lots of people that I went to school with that are from Clear Lake. I'm not from there, but
I went to Clear Lake.
How was it? How do you like
growing up in Seabrook?
Yeah, man.
Oh, it was great, man. It was a dream as a little kid. You know, I grew up in the bayou with animals and critters all over the place and water, and boats and all kinds of fun stuff, and basically just swim all summer. And yeah, it was great. Galveston, 30 minutes away. I got to go surfing when I was in high school.
So were you
really,
beach
really
bum?
shitty waves.
Is that a fair way to put it?
Yeah, sure. Why not?
It's not the same as it is in California.
I wasn't there as much as some, but I definitely would go on a regular basis and longboard and on those choppy ass waves.
And cold sometimes too.
In the winter, but yeah, you see that's what sucks about there is the waves a lot of time are the best in the winter when it's cold. But whatever.
Freeze your balls off.
You just freeze your balls off or get a wetsuit.
Yeah, but that's okay when you're younger.
Smaller than me, and so I would wear their wetsuits because I never had money for my own.
Right.
And they were always so tight and really, really awkward fitting.
What is I don't even want. I'm just getting to keep the mental picture of it. It's like, where is he oozing out of? That's the first thought I have.
Yeah.
His ass kind of hanging out.
It wasn't so much oozing; it was stretching the lims because I was really skinny.
Yeah,
and
but tall dude though. You're a pretty tall guy.
Yeah, I like 6'3".
Does that kind of make you an athletic guy again in high school proper, or just kind of tall and lanky?
I would say, yeah, I'm kind of athletic, but not very coordinated.
Yeah. What kinds of things were you doing in high school?
I was a swimmer and I played water polo.
Oh, swimmer makes perfect sense.
Yeah, right? Yeah, long and lanky.
Yeah.
Long and lanky.
Not to try to be stereotypical, but you guys have long arms. You make good fighters, probably. You got reach on me.
Never been a good fighter.
No?
No.
You've been taken down a few times, I suppose.
Absolutely. Yes.
You're all the same height when you're on the floor. So
that's
right.
Good point.
Yeah.
That's a great point. So doing this Seabrook, this Houston, this Clear Lake thing, for you, was that kind of academic pursuit part of the picture as well? Like, I got it, I'm going to finish college, I'm going to go do the college thing, or was it more free than that? Sometimes our parents, they're kind of give us some pressure in that direction.
To be honest, I never really thought about it that much. I was like, yeah, I'm going to go to UT.
Yeah.
And then I went to UT with most of my friends, pretty much all my friends.
UT Austin?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's when I moved here, and so I got in, because there's the whole top 10% thing, or at least it was back then. I think it's different now. I think it's 8% or something. But yeah, so I went to a really competitive high school, and there were 40 people with perfect GPAs.
Oh, Jesus.
And so it was really tough.
Yeah.
All the engineers from NASA and all the oil engineers.
Yeah, because they're right around there.
Went to my high school,
yeah.
And so, but I had pretty good grades anyway. So I got into this probationary program at UT. So they let me in, but I had to go in the summer before. So basically, I finished high school
and then you have to
in
go.
May, turned 18 May 14th, and 2 weeks later I went to college. And you say, oh man, that sucks, but actually it was fucking awesome because I was bummed to leave my friends and stuff, but it turned out I got to immediately go to Austin, which is an amazing place, and I got to go wild. So
you were 18, right?
I was 18. Yeah, I was very freshly 18.
What year are we talking?
That's 2004.
2004 was a good. That's
a great year.
Austin was really different then.
Yeah, right.
A little bit looser, a little bit less corporate. No, hardly any brewing or distilling going on at that point either.
Live Oak.
Yeah, that's kind of it,
That was it.
Yeah, and there's a bunch.
And there's real ale, but I don't even remember having real ale because they didn't even have Fireman's at the time. I don't think.
No, it was a couple years later.
And so, yeah, growing up, the first craft beer I ever had was St. Arnold for sure.
Oh yeah, okay.
I used to steal them from my buddy's dad. And those were great. Lawnmower, I definitely remember loving. It was one of the first beers I ever loved, which is definitely where my fascination with Kolsch started.
Yeah.
And then, and Live Oak Hef in Austin was, we'd go drink pitchers of that and, as 19-year-olds get wasted.
Not so bad.
Yeah.
What were you?
Hef.
Just get
messed
messed up on some Hef, dog.
Mess on Hef. That's good. I think that's a worthy of its song. You're talking about writing a record earlier. Maybe maybe it's all beer-centric pop songs. I don't know.
Right.
Good DJ as well.
Plastered on pills.
Plastered on... Well, that still goes on for me. Sorry, guys. Pilsner. Sorry. Okay. I misunderstood.
Pilsner.
Okay.
Don't do Oxycontin.
That's
story.
It's
don't do drugs.
Especially when you have means when you're older because you got money. But what was the program that you got into with UT?
It was just it's just they called it the summer program. It's summer.
So just a general sense of general interest.
Yeah, and so basically as long as I didn't fail, they would let me in.
Oh, that's
good.
Then,
that was I think the only semester I made all A's. Which is good.
No
they let me stay.
Yeah.
And then it was just straight into fall and
what did you
onward?
Because I'm trying to go backwards, and I know you're kind of more the brains guy. Because at least that's what Tim was telling me. You're there brewing, and you're kind of focusing on the details and such. So, what kind of major really appeals to that kind of mind? Were you in English? Were you engineering?
I've always been interested in a lot of different stuff. Yeah, I was an English literature major and philosophy. Really loved stories, really loved reading. I was training to be a teacher, which I ended up being a teacher for a bit. Yeah.
General K through 12 or high school? High school, mid school?
Yeah, I didn't really, I was thinking more high school was the idea. But like growing up, my mom's a science teacher and my stepdad works for Boeing and worked for NASA. And so grew up in a very scientific world. So definitely a lot of science and a lot of art. My mom's also a piano teacher.
Oh, man.
And so a lot of science and a lot of art. And so in in college, I definitely got more into stories and playing music and having fun and experiencing, all of the new things that being away from your parents has to offer.
Well, here's an interesting question. I feel this way a lot about. I know a lot more about spirits than I do beer, and that's why I love talking to you guys.
Oh, cool.
Where you guys can kind of give me some insight. But I have this kind of theory that if
thanks, Tim.
You don't have a root in art or some kind of creativity and cultural art epicenter at heart, I don't think you can really make great things. Does that make sense? Like, because whiskey, you think of cognac, you think of beer, there has to be some soul and passion in it, and it can't just be graphed out.
Sure.
Does that make sense? You gotta feel it. How do you feel about that, Tim? Is it?
I think.
We'll go for both you guys, but
Yeah, go ahead.
That's gonna. I think that if you look at the resurgence recently within the past 25 years or so, that it accompanies an overall aesthetic change.
Yeah.
And a lot of that has to do also with technology, but it's just you're not gonna see all this flourish without some creative sense. Now, granted, there's like what Bryan was saying, there's a scientific background to almost everything. But
for consistency's sake, mostly, right?
Right.
So you do things the same way. There's a temperature range, all of that.
But you could
Important.
say the same with music. You can have a piece of music that's played like exactly like the notes are written on the page, and that might sound not as pleasing to somebody else's sloppy interpretation because it might have like just a whole different spin on it.
Yeah, it's a good point. So in terms of that wand of creativity and kind of feeling the compositions of flavor, like how do you feel about that? You think that's an important thing, Bryan?
Absolutely. I mean, I'm a pretty practical guy when it comes to making beer. I definitely get creative with what I want to do and putting my stamp on it or creating, we've got a few things that we're doing that I would say are original or, I'm not really taking ideas from anybody else. But I don't know. I mean, I think to make beer consistently and not just like, I don't mean like make the same beer really well over and over again. I mean, like to make beer, even lots of different kinds consistently well over a long period of time. I think that it is probably more like 60 or 70% science. I think the best brewers, are probably like engineers that are really good at talking to people.
Very small subset of engineers, in fact. Yeah.
Yeah. No, because most engineers really don't do the social thing.
Yeah.
But, there's all different types of crazy, awesome brewers that do all different types of crazy things. Like, those dudes out in the hill country, Jester King, they're, I've heard they don't even take gravity readings. It's
amazing. They just feel it. They put their finger up in there. It's like, this feels right.
Right. Then they're doing awesome stuff. Yeah. So, but yeah, for me, it's probably a little science heavy, but there's definitely, it all starts in the head. It all starts with a concept. It's not like I want to execute this. It's always like, oh, what would be fun? What would be great? What is this? What does Carl taste like?
Yeah.
Who the hell is Carl? And what's he taste like?
The amazing Carl Winslow, then. Unless that was a joke. I hope that was real.
No,
it's kind of real.
Good. All right. Yeah. That's good. Then we have to talk about that then. So your introduction, Bryan, to brewing, because it seems like you're building this great collection of soft skills and hard skills, those kind of detail-oriented things, engineering based. What is the first experience you have where you're kind of messing around? Is it with ingredients and things? Is it home brewing too?
Home brewing, yeah. So I went, and I mean, I guess I first fell in love with craft beer drinking it, obviously.
Sure.
Everybody.
That's how it starts. So.
Yeah. And then I actually went to teach English in Korea with my wife.
No kidding.
Or my girlfriend at the time. And so we taught there for a year, and that is actually when I became infatuated with trying to make beer, which was really hard. And so what I did was read. And so I think I probably read 4 or 5 brewing books before I ever brewed a batch.
Really?
Yeah.
But what's the impetus for you wanting to like get your hands dirty and create this thing? Like why? You can buy it all over the place, right?
Not in Korea.
Well, that's a good point. But you buy soju, right?
You can buy soju.
Soju.
$1 a bottle, man.
That's not bad.
Awesome.
It's good.
It's horrible and it's awesome at the same time.
Much like life.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know exactly why. I just got really, really fascinated with the process.
Yeah.
With, it's so, there's so much mystery and mysticism of like, you take these ingredients, it's grain and hops and yeast and water, right? And then, but then you make a brew and then you give it to yeast and then you're like, okay, what's going to happen?
Right.
It's different.
You're at the
every
mercy
time.
kind of.
Yeah, you are. You're working. You have a partner, like it's not like, we're working with another living organism to make this drink. And you can kind of whip it into submission every now and then, but you really kind of, you gotta fluff it and tickle it and make sure that you give it what it wants. You know what I mean?
It totally is. Again, much like life.
Yeah.
You got to give it something and it'll give you something back.
Yeah. So it's fascinating. I'm still fascinated by it. And like Tim said, we learn new stuff every day.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just curiosity, I guess, in general, of the process is what got me fascinated.
Inquisitive mind, as they say, which I think is a good thing.
Necessary to be a brewer.
I think so too. So, all right, good. All right, so we got 2 backgrounds. This is interesting parallels in the trajectories here. You guys kind of see that. And this is probably a match made in heaven in some sense, or at least via beer.
I wake up every morning glad that I'm listening to Tim.
And your eyes are sparkling. I can see it.
Yeah.
So 2 teachers, you guys intersect paths at Austin Beerworks. Is that where this team starts to get forged?
Yeah.
So who is at Austin Beerworks first?
The Bryan
gray area.
Yeah,
is it? Okay.
Bryan
it's different.
Ty goes to the runner.
Volunteered before I did.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
I moved to Austin 6 to 8 months after they opened.
What year are we talking?
2011.
2011. Okay,
yeah.
so just a few years ago.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And so
6 years ago.
The math checks out, Brian.
Yeah.
He's right.
Crazy.
It is.
Isn't it 3 years to 2020?
Science.
Oh, Jesus.
Coming in.
Barbara Walters coming back.
Right? Oh, yeah,
That's
right?
when Hugh Downs' zombie will come back and haunt us all, mind you.
God,
Barbara Walters
remember when
by that
he
time, too.
passed. But
I think he's still alive, actually. I
R.I.P.
think I'm doing the
Barbara
dead.
Walters isn't dead.
No, but Hugh Downs is dead, right? John Stossel's career is dead. Just going through all
Look at that.
Well, it is.
Name dropping.
Yeah, for
Well, I love
real.
I'm a big John Stossel
The
fan.
Stossel.
Stosselhoff. Anyway, but yeah, so 2011,
Yes.
you've got to step in, Tim, and you're coming
Right.
into this. And it's a gray area as to who started first,
Sure.
but it's both volunteering.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
In what capacity? You have to
Canon.
do case packs? Canon. Okay.
Canon stuff.
Yeah, they
Kegging
had
stuff.
Yeah, so no,
Do it again. Drink a beer.
Bryan volunteered before I did. I moved to Austin, and I didn't have a job when I moved here, so I put in like a pretty solid month when I first moved here.
Why did you move here, by the way, Tim? What brought you here? Was it love as well?
Never figured that one.
No, it's the classic Austin story.
Just
Just
say
wanted
it's
to go somewhere else.
That's
Yeah, right.
totally
Austin
what it
seemed
was.
cool. Well, that's fine. It worked
is
out.
what it
And
is.
no, I'm glad he came.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
It is what it
I believe it too. I really do think you're glad he came, bro. It sounds like you actually legitimately happy that he showed up.
there was somebody at the bar the other day who was like really she was a Texas native, and she was like really probing me like, why did you come here? You know,
Right.
why you're from the Northeast? What made you want to come here? Blah blah blah. And this is like in the tasting room at St. Elmo Brewing Company, and she was like really pushing hard
Like
on
accusatory kind of
this. Almost accusatory. And so I just said, well, I
wanted to piss you off, lady. That's why I came here.
I could maybe not have moved here, and then this wouldn't be here. I don't know how to answer that.
Wait,
question.
don't you like what you're seeing?
Making me regret that decision.
Right?
Go backwards, Back to the Future. This shit, you don't want to do that.
No.
You don't want to disappear. But so you guys are
the past.
ultimately, what is that spark that kind of arises between you, where maybe there's a creative partnership or there's an operational partnership? How did that actually forge between the two of you as a volunteer?
We both Well, I mean, like, so our actual volunteering, we only overlapped a handful of times.
Okay.
But I mean, like, I always liked Bryan, and he was easy to talk to, and like, and then we both were hired about 3 months apart, and just kind of dedicated ourselves to making sure that the beer was as good as possible.
Yeah.
Which is like what pretty much everybody does at Austin Beerworks once they get signed. There's a real draw to the team there.
Sure.
And like it was Bryan and me and this other guy Tom who still works at Beerworks, and we just were like a cleanup crew on the can line.
Yeah.
And we all got along really, really well.
You kind of have to.
Yeah.
Is it one of the?
It was great, man. It was super fun, and then it was us, and then Chance and Colin, and then Adam and Will, obviously.
Yeah.
Making all the beer.
It was so it was a real
fun.
small crew.
Yeah.
Like Bryan said, you kind of had to get along. It was just like so it was a tight knit group really quick.
How'd you feel about what was really like this rise to popularity in I would say the last 5 years with Austin Beerworks as a brand? It's the place you go to Mohawk and you can get one. You can go to
Awesome.
crazy
Go to movie
places.
theater and
Dude, exactly.
right, watch Radiohead and have a pearl snap.
Right, it's like a
pretty
mind blowing thing. How
Yeah.
did you guys feel to be a part of that rise?
It felt to be honest, I wish I could have seen that from the outside. Just because we were so submerged in it, and like we lived and breathed that brand and like the work that we did there, and it was like the amount of effort everybody put in at the very beginning, because like I said, we were hired only a year after they first opened,
right.
And so it was literally like it was all hands on deck pretty much at all time. And so
It was long days, man. Like most of them were at least 10 hours.
No, yeah.
Most of them were much more than that.
Especially when you're doing something, right? You're not sitting at a desk. You're actually putting a thing in another thing. You're putting it in a box. You're getting it shipped out. You're palletizing stuff.
Putting a thing in another thing.
Oh, come on. But it is. I mean, it is. You are physically doing things, manually doing stuff all day.
Yeah. So there was tons of payoff.
Yeah.
We saw it, day after day, and they treated us wonderfully, and it was like a fun place to like get our start,
right?
For sure.
Well, then it begs the question: what was the time, or what was the incident, positively or negatively, that made you guys realize like we're ready to do something like this on our own?
I remember.
Yeah, and quotes.
I guess there were two for me. I mean, obviously, well, maybe it's not obvious. I think most people who work at a brewery, at least in some form or fashion, would love to be a part of owning a brewery themselves someday.
Oh, yeah.
Or at least being able to make their own beers on a regular basis.
Right.
So
And legally,
I would think that's pretty common with all of us. And then I think both Tim and I noticed in each other a pretty intense curiosity where we'd work a 12-hour day, and then Adam and Will were very patient with answering all of our questions all the time. They'd show us how every pump worked and how to blow down the boiler and how all the pipe work ran. And I was probably so annoying. And they would taste all my home brews, which I know they hated doing it. But then, so one of the first moments I remember was I took them a home brew, and I had been brewing for, a year or so. And I took them one, and they hated it. It was full diacetyl. It's a common off flavor.
Butter, right?
Butter, yeah, butterscotch. And I didn't know what that word was at the time.
Could you taste it though?
No,
Okay.
I couldn't. Yeah, I mean, I didn't know what they were talking about, and they were just
yeah.
like, "Oh man, this is full of acetyl." And but I brought them two, and they really liked the other one. And I was like, "Oh, okay, great." And I was like, "I need to figure out what is this diacetyl."
Yeah.
And that was so awesome because I mean, you have to be able to take criticism, and you have to know that like, look, you're not going to do it great every single time, and like it's the pursuit of perfection that is the whole fun. And so that was really awesome that they were honest, and they're still honest with me when I take them beers.
Are you okay with that? Like the creative and artist type sometimes feel incredibly attacked when someone just says this isn't exactly where it could be.
Not really. I mean, I think sometimes people will criticize, and they'll criticize in a way that doesn't really make sense.
Yeah.
But no, I'm pretty open to criticism. At least I feel like I am.
Yeah.
I mean, you maybe have to ask other people when they do criticize me how I react, but I'm definitely open to it. If the beer isn't good, I want to know why, and I want to know if I can fix it.
Yeah.
It's different to everybody too, so that also makes it tough. But then, so we were there for a while, and both Tim and I worked our way up. We did all the jobs in production, and then he went to the tasting room and led that and did a killer job, and like all the staff loved the shit out of him. And I remember that was something that was so strange, seriously, that like most people don't just love their boss.
Yeah.
That's pretty rare, and I just remember how much everybody loved working for him, and I thought I was like, wow, I noticed that, I was like, wow, that's rare.
Yeah. So it's like, this is a good skill set. Maybe it's one that you don't have. Like, you've got the strengths here. You've got the strengths
he's way better at talking to people than I am.
Bribery. That's all that is.
Yeah.
Bribery. Right. I like that. Social bribery or like literal bribery? No.
Blackmail.
Oh, good. All right. I get that. Yeah. That is a huge part of the business. That's something people don't know.
That's right.
Yeah. Pay to play.
Yeah.
Well, I suppose that's blackmail.
Politics.
Yes. But you see it kind of the same way as this relationship, Tim, is unfolding between the both of you.
So Bryan propositioned me with many things. But
sure.
No, this all basically comes out of Bryan's head.
Yeah.
And so he approached me at a certain point to talk about going into business together, and it was, I guess on my end, I had thought about starting a brewery too. I didn't know where it was going to be, what I was going to be doing. I didn't know if Austin was going to be my permanent home or not. And kind of when it was, at least in my head, kind of the missing piece, because he was the person that I knew was like one of the most dedicated people to trying new things. And, like we mentioned curiosity before and inquisitiveness, and that like, he would think of the things that a lot of brewers would be like, no, I don't want to do that, or no, why would you do that to a beer?
Right.
And his kind of way of thinking was like, well, let's not say no, let's find a way for that to work. And so he thought of a lot of different ways to conceptualize beer, think about flavor in general, and I knew how incredible his work ethic was. And so he when he propositioned me, like going over it in my head, it was like, I can't think of it. Like, I can't think of anybody else. Say what?
I just had a really good idea.
What's that?
We should take some of Rosa and put it in a whiskey barrel.
Uh-oh.
I know two that are for sale this weekend. They're rye second fills, $150 for 53-gallon barrels. Rye's good for a beer too.
Totally cut him off.
Yes,
totally cut him off.
No, I like it. But see,
Craigslist, right?
This is how it's good. This is how things happen.
That's right.
So, but yeah, it's obviously whiskey. I mean, we go drink some whiskey in a moment if you guys want. But so things are kind of. It seems like a nice pairing where you're Hall, he's Oates. Now you can flip that if you like John Hall better than Daryl Oates. And I'm not trying to put anybody in anybody else's shoes.
No. At least you didn't call me Garfunkel.
Wow, no, that's. That's kind of an insult. It is.
It's a
little bit
a one-trick pony there. But
so going through that process, then thinking about now you've got this physical build down. How long did this brainchild take to kind of develop and come into?
Take very long, man.
No,
we hit it running.
Yeah,
we talked about it, and I kept asking Tim before I asked him to really just do the brewery. I was like, hey man, how long are you gonna live in Austin? I asked him for like 2 or 3 months in a row, and he's like, I don't know. I was like, God damn it, tell me. And then finally I was just like, hey man, you want to make a brewery? And so we started talking about it, and we've really had, we both of us had lots of ideas, and a lot of them were all very similar.
Right.
And we really, in the whole process, we haven't disagreed on barely anything at all.
Oh, wow.
We do every now and then.
Yeah.
And then we fight. No.
We'll go back to the fighting. You said you lost a lot of fights, Bryan, so let's just say Tim's a winner.
That's mostly against women.
Oh, I see. Wow. Fair enough.
We talked about it, conceptualized it for a while, and the goal was to make something smaller where we could do a more variety of batches on a regular basis, and probably just stay in Austin, limited distribution, but more brew pub style stuff. And then South Austin was really, the St. Elmo area was really kind of the goal from day one. We looked in the Miller neighborhood and East Side a little bit, but really the focus was South Austin, south of Ben White, where there really isn't anything or wasn't anything much that was open regularly. I'm not trying to discount Indy or 512 or South Austin. They're all down there, but they're just not open very much. And so that experience wasn't there. And so we started conceptualizing it, and then the ABGB opened, which was a huge inspiration because they're, until they opened, it was just like the Black Sheep Lodge down there that you could go get good beer, which is a cool place. I love that place. But they opened, and right, we all know they crushed it. Really good beer, really fun place to go, and everybody, and they're just swamped constantly. And which is just a testament to their hard work and them knowing the market. And so, but it also kind of proved like, wow, yeah, like let's go.
It could actually work.
Stay the course. Yeah, South Austin is for sure where we should go, and a little different, definitely a different neighborhood. But so we looked around, and man, we got, honestly, a lot of it was luck. Yeah. We got really lucky in looking for our location. Yeah. We looked at like 6 or 7 locations. The second one we looked at is the one we're in right now.
Yeah,
amazing.
And
it doesn't happen that easily.
No, man, we got so lucky, and like our landlords are great. It's at the Yard, right? We're at the Yard with Still Austin and with Spokesman, and I was there this morning. They'll be open in a couple months, and Austin Winery and Stuff ATX, and
we even had
Drop House, and
we had to convince them to get us in. Even then, it wasn't even just like, okay, let's sign the lease right now.
Right.
Like it was. We had a couple of meetings where it was, we seriously had to pitch ourselves.
Basically prove that we're cool.
That you're cool enough to hang with that group.
Basically, we're cool and we're going to make money.
Yeah.
That's it. Right.
That's
sometimes you can't let people know you're doing one or the other. That they know you're cool, but you never wanted to know you're making money. It's one of those things.
You got to make money.
Right.
I know, but you do. You got to make the rent. And so when you think about that complex, and I was talking to Tim earlier, but I have to chat with Chris, who's founder of Still Austin and stuff, and then it's really going to be a cool emerging epicenter for art and culture in Austin. And obviously, all art is secured by booze. Every civilization is built on it. But so for you guys, what, if you think about, and this isn't like an elevator pitch, but what was the thing that you guys knew you wanted to provide and that you could do better than anybody else?
So I guess we don't want to necessarily say that like we do this better than anybody
No,
else.
sure.
The most.
But egotism does
definitely
come.
Not our style.
Yeah.
But what we do want to do is, let's just say that there's right. So Bryan lives in South Austin. His wife grew up in South Austin, knows the area relatively intimately, at least definitely compared to me. And it's just the idea that this is. Right, this is Austin. It's such a cool town, and it is grossly underserved by its local breweries. Really,
I don't mean small breweries.
Right. Yeah. I don't mean that. That's not a criticism. That's merely an observation. Right. Yeah. You look at so many other cities: Portland, San Diego, Denver, even Boston. Places up in the Northeast,
Asheville.
Yeah, and you see these small breweries that are more akin to like local hangouts, that are more like local pubs or something like that. And we still don't have that in this town. This is one of the fastest growing cities in the United States. Sure. And up until a handful of years ago, like literally what Bryan was just saying, moving here in 2004, and there was like a brewery, and that's kind of crazy. So it's just the idea that this is a fertile market. This is a place where we want to see a diversity in beer that's being brewed, in the way that it's being presented, in spaces that people can go and hang out. You go to a place like Austin Beerworks, they're going to be opening a new tasting room that's going to feel significantly different from Jester King out in the Hill Country, which is going to feel significantly different from, Pine House Pizza.
Right.
And so we were looking to, again, just kind of put our stamp on it and do another really cool place. Hopefully be able to brew beer as well as these other really awesome places that already exist in town, and make another really cool local hangout spot that, you can come and have some really good beer and really good food.
Well, I've noticed a couple things that I think are kind of very intriguing for one. So one thing, you guys have cold brew there, which is always good because that'll keep people drinking because they'll be awake. But that'll also be a good vehicle for, it seems like you guys are throwing karaoke parties out there.
We did one.
No, but this is a thing that maybe you will do again, I hope, right?
Well, at least do it once. So that honestly just comes from my wife's family. We stole their Christmas sing-along, which they've done for, I don't know, 10 or more years, and in their living room. And so their friend and one of our good friends, Craig Calvert, is a really good musician, and he always leads it. And basically it's just get around, a few days before Christmas at some time, drink a bunch, and start with a few carols and then move on to the Beatles
Yes.
and Crosby, Stills, Nash and the Grateful Dead and just sing a bunch of fun songs together and get drunk.
That's amazing.
And so we did that at the brewery. It was super fun.
Awesome.
Would you consider doing it again?
Absolutely.
Okay,
yeah.
Sure. We'll do it next year for sure.
Yeah.
And maybe we'll come up with another reason to do a sing-along.
Yeah. There's always a good reason to sing and drink, though.
That's right. We don't do it enough.
That's right. And you guys are having, there's like other types of events as well, too. Beyond, we'll talk about the food in a second, but is there DJs? Are you returning to the turntable?
No.
Brian? No, okay.
Those are gone.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Well, yeah, we're going to start having music here probably next month. Both Tim and I really love bluegrass. There's a lot of good musicians, bluegrass, country, singer-songwriter, rock and roll stuff in Austin, South Austin especially. Yeah. So we're starting to, we've never run a venue. We love music. We're music lovers, and we're going to start to try to figure that out and probably have shows maybe once a week or so.
It's still really cool because you're bringing something down to that specific nestled area in South Austin that's not really there. Now it is, you go out a couple miles or mile and a half. So, but you're creating a market, you're creating a neighborhood. Is that in any way the intention to kind of also bring it there?
I don't think we're creating the neighborhood. The neighborhood's been there for a long time, but I think we're giving them somewhere to go.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. They're there, but there's nothing rallying anybody together specifically like that for us. South,
right. You know? And we're just the first of many that are going to bring these people together in their own neighborhood, so they don't have to drive downtown.
Yeah. We had a marching band come out for our New Year's Eve party.
Really?
Yeah. So we did a ticketed New Year's Eve event, and to be honest, it kind of was a big question mark the whole time, simply because New Year's Eve is hit or miss,
sure,
right? And I mean, like, the people are going to go downtown, they're going to go to the east side, that's where you're going to see it. And so we wanted to bring the Minor Mishap marching band in to put on like a really cool show, we were charging ticket price, and we were hoping to see what happened. In the meantime, I had actually had a conversation with one of the brewers at Pint House South, and he totally was like, yeah, we tried to pull in New Year's Eve crowds and it just never worked. This is the second year and we're avoiding it. And so I was like really nervous that maybe we were going to.
He did not tell me that, by the way.
Yeah, I did not tell Brian that. I was nervous.
He's a good leader, isn't he? He doesn't ever
nervous hearing that story. But see, here's the thing. It's just like what Brian said.
It went off.
This neighborhood exists.
Yeah.
We have people that are less than a half-mile walking distance.
Oh, that's amazing.
Just crossing Congress, coming to a place to drink, and man, we sold our tickets online. We sold them at the door, and we
sold out, man.
Yeah,
we filled that place.
Yeah. What's capacity roughly there?
Oh, that's a gray area.
Sure.
Inside, it's like 70, 80.
That's crazy.
And then outside,
probably have 200
yeah.
or so.
Yeah, but that's a brilliant thing to accomplish. You guys have, what was the official open go live date where people could come in and drink? It's not been that long.
Oh, since we opened,
Yeah.
I guess December 3rd was our grand opening.
So you're talking about less than a month. You're able to sell out an event at a place with less
tickets
than a
were
month.
only available for like 4 days.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, that's incredible.
It was
great.
Yeah, and so
the response was awesome.
We were, and this is where kind of like getting to there's the Battle Bend neighborhood just to the south of us, and then there's between South First and Congress, just to the west of us. And these are two places that are just, if they want to go anywhere, they got to cross Ben White.
Yeah.
And it's not far, and it's easy for them to do, but it's just one of those, like, I think that this city, more and more, it's one of those mental barriers where you're like, I'm not going to cross the highway.
No, you're totally right.
It used to be, I'm not going to cross the river, and now it's going to be more and more like, oh, why would I cross the highway when I can just go here?
When I can do that.
Yep.
And so that's kind of like, that's really what the intention is. That's what the hope is. And we're happy to see a lot of locals.
Well, I mean, in such a short amount of time, you guys are really building a lot of momentum, which is a brilliant thing. So I have really two more questions for you guys. One is that it looks like there's good food and beers. Can you what would be, it's a nice, like the weather's here now, it's like in the 60s, it's a Saturday, I'm sitting outside. Pair me a meal. Like what's a good bite of food with a good beer if I go visit St. Elmo Brewing Company?
Dude, go get that fried chicken sandwich and fries and a Carl.
And a Carl, okay.
That's a
And you're going to have fun.
And that appeals to your most unctuous sense of lust? Because it's fatty, it's rich. Is that?
It's spicy, it's salty, it's great, and Carl is just super easy drinking.
Yeah.
Especially if we're saying that the temperature's gone up and the sun is shining, that's exactly what you want.
And I think that's just like a good default, and that is a really awesome default. Like you go in there and you get those two things, it's going to be great.
Good time no matter what.
Absolutely. Or you can go in there and get his like spicy eggplant.
Yeah. And do that with the IPA.
Yeah,
with
absolutely.
Yeah.
Wow. That's amazing. I mean, it's just, you can go down there and get anything you're looking for. It's a really brilliant thing. So you guys, you're saying there's 9 beers that you're offering right now?
9 on now, and we'll have a new one released probably a week from tomorrow.
What is, not favorite, that's the wrong word. What's the one that will really surprise somebody? So, because it's the sleeper beer. Is that a fair way to put it?
Sure.
Sleeper beer, that's a good question. Maybe Angus?
I would say Angus, yeah. I would say Angus.
What is it about it?
Angus, our dry stout, about 5%. Is very full flavored and roasty and strong, but super easy to drink. And it's one of those, very much in America, black beer scares people. They're all dark and heavy and big and bad. And that's just so not true. You know, another example of that is like Black Thunder.
Oh, right.
From Beerworks. But yeah, so Angus is just a killer rockin' beer.
Angus Young or Angus Schramm?
Angus Young.
Okay.
Course.
All right. The guy from Phantasm, he's iconic too.
Yeah.
You know.
Thanks for asking.
Yeah, no, I think that there's so many interesting elements, interesting chapters and punctuation to the beers that you're working on. There's just got to be a way to navigate it. In 9 visits, you can do that. Take a little bit of time.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, so here's the last question, and I think about the impact that opening a new business had on me personally, with my personal relationships and my health. And you guys are both married.
Mm-hmm.
Your kids too? Tim, I know you got kids.
I have a kid.
Do you have kids, Brian? No?
I do not right now.
Okay. You're working on it.
We're working on it.
All right, that's good. It's good.
Yeah, it's fun.
How has this whole process been with your respective wives in having to dedicate so much time to make this thing work? How's it taken its toll on your relationship, Tim?
There's a lot more flexibility, and I've never come to rely on calendars more. Yeah, but I mean, like, basically, you know, when you start opening a new business, it's a kid. It's a baby,
totally right. Every product in a way is a kid.
Yeah, right. And so it's just it's a lot of flexibility on both parts, and I'm like, there's no sugarcoating it. It is really difficult.
Yeah.
But that's what partnership's for, and it's like absolutely. One hand is there to help the other, and that's exactly what it's been, at least for me and my wife.
Yeah, that's great.
So,
really supportive. How about you, for Brian? It's been an easier experience, harder experience?
It's, I mean, I guess I don't know for sure, but I can say pretty confidently it's been a little easier for me.
Yeah,
because Tim is a child; he has a whole other person he has to take care of. You know, there's a lot of responsibility there. For just responsibility of time and money and all kinds of things that I haven't really had to think about. And so that has definitely been harder for him. But my wife has been super supportive. I couldn't have done it without her. I mean, she's our biggest cheerleader, and I'd say single-handedly, she's probably brought more people to the brewery than anybody else.
Amazing.
And she's just an awesome woman. And I definitely could not have done it without her. So... as for a strain on the relationship, I mean, not really. I mean, we knew we were getting into. We knew it was going to be hard, and we knew that I was going to work an insane amount. She comes up to the brewery when she wants to see me.
That's great. And you live down south anyway, which is good.
I mean, I'm lucky in a lot of ways, but yeah, my drive to work is like 7 minutes. So
you lucky son of a bitch.
Yeah,
that's pretty brilliant. Well, so this has been a great chat. I can't wait to come visit you guys.
Thanks for having us, man. This is fun.
I do have, because I want to just kind of harken back to the beauty bar days, perhaps even the whiskey bar days.
Okay.
Brian,
Happy meals.
You're looking at me. That's right.
Sure.
He's looking at me like, oh shit.
Lone Star and a shot of Jameson.
So obviously you're gonna have more. That's right.
Right.
You're gonna have more. It's fucking great.
$5.
Oh man. Yeah.
Doesn't
Whiskey and anything. I'm already bought into it. But I know you guys are gonna have more events. I know there's gonna be more music, some live, but I imagine at some point there'll be a DJ. So, Brian, you're gonna spin a record. You have some control. Just pick one of the records that you think would set the great tone for your folks out there at St. Elmo's.
Probably Human After All by Daft Punk.
Daft Punk. That one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that a bad thing?
No, it's.
I love that one because
okay.
it's like, well, I'm a Daft Punk addict for sure.
Oh yeah.
And I love that one because it really gets it to like the marriage of like human and robot, and I think that really parallels the science and art, right, of what brewing is. Yeah. And I definitely think this is probably way too cheesy, but I actually think about that when I listen to that album and brew.
I don't
cheesy as fuck, right? I know, it's true.
Well, no, he finally just demonstrated he's a very insightful guy. Finally, I've been waiting this whole fucking hour for Bryan to come through.
I was just gonna say, now's the time where we say fuck, right?
No, it's fine. We'll just dump him in. But anyway, damn, it's been brilliant. Thanks so much for coordinating, Bryan, as well. We'll see each other soon. I hope you guys have a good run.
Thanks.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Well, there we have it, Mr. Tim Bullock and Bryan Winslow of St. Elmo Brewing Company, bringing some life, bringing some flavor to South Austin. And Angus sounds like a nice sleeper beer. The food at the truck sounds incredible. Seems like a great way to spend an afternoon or a weekend, depending how much you want to drink. Thank you guys for having such a good time. You're funny, you're kitschy, you're goofy, you're sarcastic. This is the kind of stuff that I really enjoy, so thanks so much for joining me. And thank you for listening to Show to V with Mike G. No matter which beer and brewery combination you're looking to try next, or if you're thinking, how many more movies about Boston will Mark Wahlberg star in, please keep dancing.